what is really interesting to me about your coming here is that you've spent the last few years in your career with teams that were on the way up, going from, oh, they're terrible, to being really good in Tampa, in Cincinnati, in Oakland. What have you learned from that?
I'd say what I've learned, first of all, is how anything is possible. How anything is possible. How in 2007 with the Rays, historically bad, not bad for the team, not bad, historically bad, record setting to go into the World Series in 2008. Watching, a guy like Joey Votto, Cincinnati Reds, who at a time had catching gear on, to MVP, Gold Glover, potentially the best glove, defense, baseball knowledge in the game. And, you're talking about a guy who went level to level to level. I mean, this guy didn't break in at 20 years old and cover Sports Illustrated right out of the gate. This is a guy who worked his way up to success. And then, again, just recently with the Oakland A's, how literally anything is possible in this game, whether it's a 9-inning game, how there's something you haven't seen before, or win a division title, with a $41 million payroll, to where, facing CC Sabathia on the mound and A-Rod playing third, and their salary is almost double our team, I kind of joke around, like, if you line up a Ferrari with a Vespa, the Ferrari wins every single time. But in baseball, the Ferrari doesn't win every single time. It literally makes no sense. But I've learned how anything is possible.
Did you, when you were in spring training early in the season in Oakland, did you find yourself telling some of those young players, hey, look, just like you were told with Tampa Bay by Fred McGriff and Tino Martinez, that, hey, look, anything's possible, you can do this?
100%, because until they told me, I didn't think it was possible. As a young guy coming up with the old green unis, Devil Rays, not the Rays, for how nicely those years got washed away. But, keeping your eye on the prize and setting goals high, well, it literally starts with that. What can happen if you don't talk about it? In this game, you don't walk out one day and see World Series on the grass and everyone's surprised. It starts in spring training. It starts with the 25 guys. And over there in Oakland, obviously talking playoffs, talking World Series, talking the taste of champagne, talking camaraderie, talking how these 162 games, potentially could be historic. Starting with that, if that doesn't happen, we're okay. It's a building block. But this isn't, shoot for the stars, you come up short of the moon. You got to talk about it for it to happen. And granted, guys move around and bounce around, so you can't really go through the low times and then turn it around to the high times, But I'm a believer in, to be the best, you have to beat the best of the worst.
Jeff Bagwell used to say that the greatest thing in baseball is to be on the bottom of the pile. You buy that?
100%. 100%. Chances are that guy are the ones with his hands up. That guy's in between the lines. There hasn't been too many nice dog piles inside the clubhouse or inside the dugout. It's a pretty special feeling. And, through all that, it happens so quick and it happens so fast, and you go in the off season of free agency and boom, you go into camp. But those days and those memories and those friendships are a lifetime.
How have you found the situation here as far as that positive energy?
When I went to Oakland last year, I'm like, hold on, bear with me now. I've already watched this movie. I've seen this movie. I've seen the ending of this movie. So when I come with these quote-unquote Bull Durham quotes, everything's happy and good, that's how you have to start, And, with all those young guys, I don't think any club's starting their year with their starting 5 rotation being rookies and backing it with 18 rookies, on the bench. I don't think that wasn't the, best way to build a team, if you will. But, it worked, and it's possible. But, I always, take it back to the old like Sandlot days, I mean, whether it's kickball, tetherball, or anything, pick up basketball when you're 10, 11, 12 years old, you got two captains, everyone's in front of you. Who do you pick? You pick the guy you rode your bike with to the park. You pick your neighbor. You don't pick the best player, because when your buddy's on the mound, you do have that extra step in the outfield, in the infield, because you want to help, when you're on third and your buddy's at the plate, you're scoring. 100% you're scoring. So if you can create that into 25 guys in the coaching staff, and I mean, you saw 2 years ago, the playoffs were taken away from the Reds from a single to the left. 162 games, it was taken away by a single to the left. So, it's a game of inches and, a game of quick decisions.
Well, you've got a history of fighting for your teammates. I mean, we had the fight with the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Fight when Coco Crisp charged them out against against Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
You believe in that fighting with one another? It's a team thing where you have to fight for one another?
I always said I think the Rays would be where they were without those two fights. I think the Rays would have went to the World Series 2008 without those two fights. But, in quick decisions, quick moments, I'm a believer in, it doesn't have to be physical, but fight for what you believe in, I don't have the huge family. I don't have all the cousins and the uncles and the big, Italian, size, dinners and stuff. So my teammates are my family. They really are my extended family. And it's a brotherhood that, I've wanted to accept and has accepted me. And that's also the baseball family. So it's so funny with those situations. I mean, I have records in the minor leagues and with Tampa and, with the rest for getting hit by pitches the most times. I've never charged. You can hit me all you want, all day long. I'm going to first and we're going to score. But, you just can't mess with my family. You can't mess with my friends.
What attracted you to Boston?
For one, like I was saying, I do play this game and I consider myself fairly lucky. I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't playing this game, but one thing I would be is a huge fan of the game. Not quite a historian, but I really know a lot of the history and accept the history. With that being said, you're talking the history of Fenway Park. You're talking the history of the Green Wall. Uniform name, city hasn't changed. So I mean, to be able to have a chapter in Red Sox history, for one, and for two, with the fan base, of the Red Sox, Sox Nation, nationwide, worldwide, there's so much accountability for the guys in the office to have interest in you. They know who they put on the field has to make the fans happy and has to have that will to win a World Series, not win a single game, but win the World Series. So when the Red Sox approach you, there's so much more accountability. It's not like you play left, they need a left fielder, and it works, So it was definitely an honor to get approached by the Red Sox, and really didn't have to twist my arm to get here.
Do you have to sort of have that same feeling going to the Reds with the tradition there and the history of Cincinnati?
Yeah. Fortunately and unfortunately, I bounced around, Why, I don't know. I've still succeeded and had good years. It's not up and downs. But my managers, Lou Piniella, Joe Madden, Dusty Baker, Davey Johnson, Bob Melvin. Those are the managers. Outside of that, the youngest organization in baseball in Tampa, the oldest organization in the city of Cincinnati, the team I grew up cheering for. I wore Oakland A's pajamas, played with the Oakland A's, and then played in the Capitol, in Washington. Would I've loved to, have the Chipper Jones, the Cal Ripken stay in one place, not have to ship stuff left and right and drag my family, coast to coast. But I feel very blessed and honored to be able to see so much of this game. And luckily for me, it's, still early and I can keep it going.
You think Fenway Park will help you?
I do 100%. I'm a firm believer in sticking to your strengths, people say, what's your approach and all this stuff, it's hit the ball hard to left, that's my approach, Fenway Park obviously is there. I kind of joke around with like what if Kevin Garnett played on an 8.5-foot hoop? Would you tell him don't dunk? You know, would you tell him to, you know, we're going to need you to shoot some threes now? You know, don't. I mean, sure, it's going to help me. With that being said, obviously 81 games on the road. You know, Yankee Stadium, short porch to right. You know, Baltimore, got to hit the ball over. I'm not going to handicap myself. I'm still going to be the hitter, you know, I am. But with that being said, I do think it's going to help me. And you know, left field too. Left field always, you know, is an adventure out there, if you will. But you know, you just got to accept the monster and not butt heads with the monster, like I've said. And I've studied the monster. I've played under it. You know, ironically enough, AAA affiliate for Tampa's Durham, exact dimensions, left field, Durham Bulls. You know, the green monster. There's his blue. So I mean, I got, you know, over 300 games underneath that monster. Granted, it's AAA. Obviously, we get it, but you know, I'm excited to play it.
Well, you did have. I was looking up your slugging and on base together. The OPS was what 230 points higher on the road than it was in Oakland. So you must appreciate what a difficult park that is to hit in.
It is. I think, ironically enough, and it was something I kind of started with early in the year, that park was going to help me, you know, stay low and drive the balls in the gaps. And I got my hits there, driving the balls in the gaps. Obviously, a deep ballpark doesn't travel well at night. Helped me on the road. So, you know, is there a road swing and a home swing? Well, there shouldn't be, because that would be too tough. But I think with me just staying disciplined at home and just taking my hits versus trying to muscle up and get it out of the Coliseum, you know, did help me out.
How much fun was it when you were in Cincinnati and that team was playing well and you had a really good year for them? Mm-hmm. Was that a great place to play?
It absolutely was. I mean, Cincinnati's unique. You know, coming over here, it's very similar. If you play for Cincinnati and you succeed in Cincinnati, man, they take you in. You know, you're one of them. And with that being said, they all come back. They're all in spring training. I mean, Johnny Bench has a locker there. You know, Joe Morgan has a locker there. Barry Larkin has a locker there. You know, it's position players. Obviously, all the pitchers, they all come back. And we're athletes. We're not fraternity boys, you know, but it really is a fraternity, Cincinnati Reds. And, you know, walking through those double doors, very similar to here, all the championships down the line, all the big hits down the line of the pictures. And, you know, it's very visual, you know, positive, you know, environment that's inside there. And, you know, I definitely play the game how I play the game because of how the alum, you know, paved the way for me to be here.
One of the things that it's really stuck out was the battle you had to get to the big leagues and how you persevered. Is part of that your major league career, what you went through as a kid, having your best friend die in an automobile accident and then having a heart attack, is all kind of part of who you are?
100%. And I think with those big events, you know, happening, but what has led up to those events and how I dealt with those events, you know, has molded, you know, the person I am today. And knowing how fast those events happen, I don't know what's going to happen today or tomorrow, you know. So I think I'm, you know, continually building myself, you know, as a better person, as a better athlete. Tampa Bay, I mean, everything happens for a reason. You know, who are some of these big guys that got drafted by other teams? Would they have made it? I don't know. Coming up with the Rays, I mean, I think it was the first overall pick 10 straight years, you know. Coming up, you know, going to my first, you know, spring training, I got Josh Hamilton, Rocco Baldelli, Carl Crawford, and then comes Delman Young and B.J. Upton and Elijah Dukes, and I mean, it just doesn't end. And it was pretty eye-opening, you know, to see, you know, these guys as athletic and as raw as they are, so young. And so again, I got a taste of that real young, and then fought and kicked and scratched and wasn't going away, and you know, found myself in Yankee Stadium in 2003 for my debut, and then getting the opportunity to play with the guys that, you know, at the highest level, future Hall of Famers.
When you had the heart attack and you recovered, was it as if, did you tell yourself, all right, the rest of my life is gravy?
Yeah, I truly did. Heart attack, obviously a big event. In the hospital, obviously a big event. But what I talk about, with that situation was the feeling I had leaving the hospital. I walked out the double doors, came out of the awning, and literally my skin just lit up from the sunshine. Something I've never felt. Obviously, I've been under the sun, I play outdoors, everything, but I've never felt the beams of light like hit my skin, and it was just like the most refreshing thing like ever. And it was almost like, okay, now your life starts. Go do what you want to do, and don't take any breath of fresh air or any day for granted. And I tell you what, it was exhausting. I mean, if you can imagine living your whole life like it's New Year's Eve, it can be exhausting. But I wasn't, I didn't want to stop. I mean, I truly didn't want to go to sleep. I said it before. I mean, since that, I don't think I've hit the snooze button once in my life. After that, and I mean, I don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted. Playing in the big leagues, I was on the other side of the fence too. I wanted a ball. I wanted some eye contact. I wanted someone to ask me how I was doing from a player. I don't forget that. And at the same time, with that being said, and then with my buddy Adam, who passed away in the car accident that we were in, we had a championship high school game that night, and then he passed away. And instantly what came in my mind was like, man, if he would have known that was going to be his last day and last game, would he have played that game different? I mean, if you go 0 for 4, it doesn't mean, you don't got to go 4-4, 2 homers, game winning. That's a great story. But would he have played that game different if a little bird landed on his shoulder and was like, hey, Adam, today's going to be your last game? So I kind of take that approach, in. Has it got me in trouble? Absolutely. I don't know how. I think I haven't had a hitting coach tell me, hey, you're swinging too hard. I'm like, well, buddy, I had a heart attack and my buddy died in my arms. It could be my last swing. With that being said, it can be exhausting. But obviously, been able to iron it out and slow down a little bit. Live for tomorrow and the following day.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Hold on one sec, guys. I got one quick one.
Yeah.
If you can answer Peter. And we asked Cody this last year, Cody Ross. Is there going to be a benefit of working out here at JetBlue with that monster?
Okay.
The exact replica of Fenway, taking all those fungos off there.
Mm-hmm.
Could you just speak to that to Peter real quick?
Yeah. I think with it being obviously different, than all the other 29 ballparks, it can be a handicap and it can be, very helpful. It was something I did in Oakland. I mean, I don't know how many times these big boppers came into Oakland, flew out to the warning track game 1, and just shut it down the rest of the series. And with that being said, with some of the other places I've been, you have to have a home field advantage. You have to win at home. You have to play the elements at home. You truly do. So obviously you can't get that anywhere else with that Green Monster in the practice. So I think it was a genius move, to be able to put that down here in Florida.